The neighborhoods that make up the former UPZ-80 Corabastos in Techotiva, Kennedy, Colombia are vibrant and culturally rich communities. However, the limited access to formalized state services has perpetuated environmental injustices in the territory. One of the most striking examples is the presence of a food desert within the locality. Despite UPZ-80 being home to Corabastos, Bogotá's largest food distribution market, many residents struggle to access food that is affordable and nutritious. Socio-environmental inequalities contribute towards the presence of the food desert, and a surplus fresh food from Corabastos is either shipped, sold for cattle feeding, or discarded, rather than being redistributed to the community. Food vendors in the locality therefore resort to selling more affordable but highly processed food, which many residents depend upon. These issues are reflected across Colombia, where approximately 13 million people experience moderate or severe food insecurity. Through our fieldwork, we identified hunger as a core issue that drives deeper inequalities and systemic injustices.
Hacíamos lo de las ollas comunitarias como para ayudar un poquito con la hambruna de los habitantes, ¿sí? De pues, nuestros alrededores. Obviamente pues es como complicada la cosa con el tema de pues lo de Corabastos, ¿no? Porque como decíamos que días, pues es privatizado, ahorita pues ya no dejan entrar a la gente, digamos a la gente que está pues recolectando por ahí sus alimentos, cogen y sí o sí lo sacan pues con los de seguridad.
Aquí Corabastos al lado y saber que es una surtidora de alimentos que también, o sea, así como dicen desperdicios, a la vez no son desperdicios para otro y tenerlos al alcance pero a la vez no, eso es como muy duro. Es alimento pero no poder comerlo. Es muy duro también para eso.
Because of the struggle to secure food, along with limited employment opportunities, some are pushed into drug trade in the ollas, not out of choice, but out of sheer necessity to survive. We heard stories of youths sniffing glue to suppress hunger, revealing how food insecurity also fuels cycles of substance abuse. Even education, which could be a pathway to overcome these injustices, is difficult to access in this territory. For those who have access, arriving hungry can make it difficult to focus or reach their full potential. Where state institutions fail to provide essential services, the work of Escuela de Educación Ambiental Guaches y Guarichas (GYG) is a great example of how residents unite through civil society organizations to bridge these gaps. GYG started as an initiative to protect the local wetlands in the locality, but soon realized this was not possible without also protecting the people who depend on them. They championed the concept of EducAcción, where educational dialogue is transformed into tangible action through their work. Much like feminist critiques of knowledge production, GYG recognizes that knowledge is place-based and emerges from lived experiences within specific territories. This research journey consists of many layers. 6 months of desk-based research laid the foundation for engaging with Orlando Falsporda on Sentipensar, Freire's pedagogy of the oppressed, and Escobar's designs for the Blue Rivers, which helped us frame our study through the lens of critical pedagogy. Guided by GYG's principle of Sentipensar, feeling thinking, we centered emotion and lived experience in our approach. A transect walk mapped key sites like Corabastos Market, the wetlands, local schools, complemented by 2 transect walks, 5 focus groups, and numerous conversations which acted as informal interviews, where GYG leaders and residents shared personal narratives, meanings, and accessibility challenges tied to these spaces. This approach was representative of the organization's commitment to shared knowledge production, whereby mixed gender focus groups and ages ranging from 18 to 35 ensured every voice regardless was heard and valued equally, reinforcing GYG's core values of inclusivity and collective learning. Through this process, we engage with salud colectiva, collective health, which expands well-being to include environmental, social, and economic conditions. This perspective also informs GYG's work on food, drug issues, and social exclusion. Grounded in participatory action research, our methodology positioned GYG members as active collaborators, not subject. A feminist lens was applied throughout, centering marginalized voices, integrating emotion, and challenging universal research models. Our recommendations have been developed on the basis that UPZ-80 has been prioritized within the district's comprehensive habitat improvement intervention plans starting in 2026. The Habitat Department told us that successful implementation often depends on collaborating with pre-existing initiatives with strong community processes. In contrast, top-down solutions imposed by governments or external consultancies often fail to identify and address the needs of communities. As mentioned, GYG have been implementing many of these perspective strategies for years, such as their approaches towards EducAcción, which is illustrative of Strategy 3.12 to recognize and strengthen self-construction processes developed in informal cities to foster knowledge and territorial ownership. Therefore, our recommendations seek to strengthen the connection between state interventions and GYG's existing participatory strategy. As well, some of our recommendations are long-term, such as education and employment, while others build on ongoing efforts, such as spatial intervention strategies. As seen in the diagram as well, these are deeply interconnected and collectively center around promoting local knowledge and citizen voices. During the pandemic, GYG frequently collected what is considered waste from Corabastos, delivering this to over 350 families. Even in times of crisis, Solidarity and Salud Colectiva work to care for communities and provide for people when state support falls short. With the locality identified by Habitat as a future area for urban regeneration in 2026, it is the perfect moment to integrate GYG's proven strategies into the government planning in order to improve food security within the UPZ 80. We therefore propose spatial interventions that reclaim dynamic, temporary urban agricultural spaces through popular education, streamline the permit process for public spaces, which can take years to grant, and support initiatives on both communal and private land. Based on Bogotá district care system, this network of facilities and public spaces will promote food sovereignty and social care. To support this, we recommend for further research into food deserts in UPZ 80 and beyond, identifying barriers to food waste redistribution, such as the privatization of Corabastos, and exploring the potential of reciprocal food distribution rooted in local solidarity. We also recommend encouraging corporate social responsibility and public-private partnerships as potential pathways to mitigate the negative effects of privatization. Parque Llano Grande, once a public toilet and a dump site, provides a striking example of a community-driven regeneration project. This space has been transformed into an urban garden through active community dialogue and collaboration with the Department of Habitat. Today, local residents have redeveloped Llano Grande into a thriving hub for cultivating vegetables and learning about resistance through food. Similarly, they are currently working to recover Bosque Noemí Ariza as another space for gardening and popular education.
Es cuando decimos educación y la gente nos ha respondido no queremos educar. Pues ahí nos tocaba mirar otra alternativa, ¿sí? Que nos permitiera encontrar unidad para poder hablar de algo tan importante como el humedal. Y ahí es donde aparece la famosísima olla comunitaria.
Along with these, Guaches y Guarichas strategically use urban art as a resistance strategy and a form of popular education, adapting key messages like the power of the people and changing the minds that change the world to younger audiences. This allows intergenerational dialogue around the territory, connecting younger audiences and expanding the message of biocultural memory and dignity within urban agriculture and other natural spaces. Our second recommendation is a longer-term strategy of educational recognition. Education provided by organizations such as GYG is centered on popular education and EducAcción. Neither are recognized by the state as valid alternative forms. We propose that popular education provided by organizations like GYG is recognized by the state through a qualification, for example, something similar to the SENA in Colombia or the TVT in Kenya.
No es solamente tener una beca para pagar menos matrícula, todo lo que confluye para una persona pobre no tiene educación, piensa en la subsistencia.
Formalization could lead to better employment opportunities for residents in the territory and enable workers like Gabi, Hugo, and Alejo to access more opportunities and devote more time to the organization if they are being paid. Furthermore, we recommend expanding employment opportunities within the locality, with minimum quotas implemented to ensure jobs are available to residents of the territory. This program should empower individuals to pursue their passions. Alternative pathways towards employment can steer individuals away from jobs linked to substance abuse. Similarly, prioritizing local employment within public services allows residents to work on issues relevant to the locality and ensures that institutional frameworks are based around lived experiences and local needs. Not only will this improve livelihoods for residents, it is also a strategic way for the government to tap into the community's rich knowledge of the territory. This is crucial for effective local planning and for improving the spatial, environmental, and social conditions in the barrios. All of these which contribute towards the objectives of Decree 646.
¿Cómo le vas a decir a una persona pobre que entregue su único capital, que es el tiempo, para que se lo entregues a la educación para que quizás en unos 5 años, si te va bien.
A successful example of community government efforts to improve employment opportunities is the Kennedy Sin Trabas program on dispositivos de bases comunitaria, community-based devices, engaged state officials, including Hugo, acting as a public servant in roundtable discussions relating to harm reduction and drug safety. This initiative was later expanded into other localities and demonstrates how community-led efforts can influence policy at the city level. Our third recommendation is a shorter-term strategy which can be implemented more immediately. We recommend strengthening the diversity in the participation of community roundtables in UP80 by implementing fixed quotas to represent marginalized voices, particularly those of children, youth, and women. Roundtables can bridge the disconnect between institutional decision-making and the everyday challenges faced by some local residents. Roundtables already exist as participatory processes within the locality, yet we've highlighted several of their limitations. Productivity in roundtables is hindered by knowledge co-production practices that prioritize institutional prestige over territorial knowledge and lived experience. Academic or bureaucratic language is often exclusionary, limiting effective participation by those without formal education or credentials. Also, the perspectives of young people are frequently overlooked, reinforcing patterns of age-based exclusion with participatory process. Previously, roundtables have been organized to address specific territorial issues, with participation limited to those already knowledgeable on the subject. We recommend broadening the scope to include intersecting issues within the locality, ensuring that those directly impacted are also represented in discussions. In addition, resources are allocated from individual state-funded projects instead of directly from roundtable discussions, and this is provided on a competitive basis. This means community organizations compete for a single pot of funding, often leading to tension and less collaboration. We therefore advocate for the formalization of inclusive community dialogue on subjects related to the collective health of the UP80. Often, the most marginalized voices, particularly women and children, are absent, despite being among the most affected by environmental injustices such as those impacting collective health in the locality. Greater emphasis should be placed on amplifying their representation, making sure their lived experiences and perspectives shape the solutions being developed at the city level. Within GYGs, individuals are encouraged to be the co-creators of knowledge. Therefore, this recommendation will amplify their voices and knowledge. These meetings will be transformed into trust-building environments guided by Sentipensar, where practices such as San Vaquero and the community pot will encourage collective reflection, ensuring that those who haven't eaten can still learn and contribute effectively.
Es un ejercicio también emocional el que estamos teniendo aquí. Afuera hay mucho caos, hay mucha violencia, hay mucho descontrol. Y estos espacios han sido esos lugares, como decía ella, seguros, porque nos permiten volver a la calma.
Strengthening community-led strategies through collaborative partnerships will ensure that local voices shape education and encourage inclusive employment opportunities alongside food sovereignty. By embedding participatory frameworks and reclaiming urban spaces, communities can build resilience and drive change from the ground up. Inspired by GYG's experiences, we call on communities, policymakers, and educators worldwide to join in building inclusive strategies rooted in local knowledge to address systemic injustices like food insecurity and social exclusion.